oil change. Very, very easy to do. There's one very small trick to it. First things first, your oil pan. If it looks like this, you know, your catch pan, get your big old nose out of here, dog. Clean it out. I like to actually see what's coming out of my oil, and since this thing just sits in my shed, it collects spiders, dust, bugs, debris of all sorts. So clean this thing out. Now the first thing you're going to want to do, make sure you have the right stuff. Make sure you have the right parts. So make sure you have an oil filter. Make sure you have oil. We'll get into that in a second. And probably the most overlooked part, this right here. What is that? Let's see, maybe if you can see that. It's a crush washer. You can see I have more than one. Every time you do an oil change this thing out. I'll show you where it is. See this right here? That's a crush washer. That's a one-time use part. Do not reuse it. You will eventually crack your oil pan. I've actually seen it happen. A guy on fireblades.org was curious as to whether or not to have his original oil pan welded or just buy a new one or a used one, because in the process of tightening this bolt down, the oil drain bolt, in the process of doing that enough times and putting the pressure on it, eventually it actually cracked his oil pan. So first things first, 12mm socket. It's 12, not a 13. You can see my my drain bolt looks brand new. And that's because it is. I was doing valve shims, dropped the shim down, had to end up draining the oil out, hoping to have the shim wash out, because it fell down in a bad place where it goes straight down to the oil pan. I ended up having to pull my oil pan down, not all the way, just enough, and get a magnet in there to get it out. But in the process, I grabbed what I thought was a 12mm. It was a 13. I stripped it out. Always double check what you're doing, make sure, you know, hey, look, it says 12. Should not take a whole lot of force. One little quick tap should loosen this. First off, warm your bike up. Get that oil flowing a little bit, get it warm. Doesn't have to be hot, just warm, and let it drain. This is the part everybody probably knows. I actually have it on a rear stand right now. I should either have it on a front stand and a rear stand, or no stands at all, or some way where it tips backwards. Okay, most important part, my old crush washer. Get rid of it. New crush washer, and I do this right up front so I don't forget to do it. Brand new crush washer. Put it on, voila, you're gonna be good to go. Let me see if I can kick this thing off the rear stand, actually. Of course, you have to pull the right side fairing. If you don't know how to do that, go buy a manual. There's things that you can do to a bike where you're going to need a manual. Namely, I just did valve shims not too long ago, and if I didn't have that manual, I would have probably been completely lost. Hopefully it's still draining into the van. And just let it drip. I mean, take your time here, don't get in a rush. Let it fully drain out the old oil. And then we'll get to the what I think is a trick anyway. I don't know. Okay, here's where life gets really, really funny and really simple. And some people are gonna say, well, duh. Others are gonna be like, well, that's helpful. Take a piece of cardboard, cut a slight little notch out into it, and you'll see what this little notch is for. A little half moon, whatever kind of shape. Just a little notch out of it. Some are like that. Like I said, this is where some people are going to say duh, others are going to think it's helpful. Now that she's drained, I'm actually going to screw this back in to stop extra crap from leaking all over the place. And I'm not going to go tight, just snug it up. I don't care what brand of oil you use. I don't care if you use conventional, synthetic, full synthetic, part synthetic, semi-synthetic, blend, whatever you want to call it. Use motorcycle oil. That's the biggest part of it. I use synthetic blend. Now here's one of my goofy things that I do. You take a regular tie-down strap, loop it through the eye. What you end up with is a strap wrench. Sometimes, depending on how tight you have these, you might be able to get it by hand. Let's see if I can actually get it by hand. Actually, if I didn't have this thing in my way, probably. Alright, this is where this comes in. Hold a nice little V into it, or if you take the blade and just lightly score the top of it, it'll actually fold really easy. Align the line that you want. Now, as simple as that seems, I've had people amazed at the way that works. That keeps a lot of oil from draining onto your freaking headers. Just the oil pan down just a little bit, voila. You'll still get probably some. It'll soak into the cardboard, kind of get around the cardboard. It's just the way it goes. There you have it. A simple, pretty effective tool for keeping most of the oil off of your exhaust. This isn't a perfect invention, but it helps considerably, I think. Okay, now this is the other part where I'll probably get some grief. I don't fill my oil filter because you're going to tip it sideways and it's going to drain the oil out anyway. I also use old oil on the sealing washer because that's the way my dad showed me when I was a kid. It's not even touching anything in the engine. It actually hits this front plate and seals. You can see the seal right there. It's just touching a metal plate. That's all it is. I don't care if that's old oil. I don't think that's gonna blow the bike up. I've never had an issue with it. Every bike I've owned, that's the way I've done it. I don't care what oil you use. As long as you're using motorcycle oil, I'm convinced that as long as you're using motorcycle oil, you're doing it right. You can see your sight glass. Kinda. There we go. Now you can see your sight glass. I think the 954 takes like 3.8 liters of oil, somewhere around there, with a filter change. On a 954, and I know this because I've tried this, do not use 10W30. I did 10W30 one time for one oil change, and I only made it to about 1,200, 1,500 miles before it just sounded like crap. Like you could hear so much more rattles and ticks than you're supposed to. So I ended up doing a super early oil change on that one, back to 1040. You do need to stand your bike up. The sight glass, here's your upper mark, here's your lower mark. That is on a level surface. That's why I actually took it off the rear stand to do this. Now, if I overfill this a hair bit right off the get-go, it's actually not going to be a big deal because my oil filter is empty. See, I'm still, oh there we are, just at the bottom tab. You see she's on the upper mark, and I know for a fact that that's going to be kind of a low amount once I fill my oil filter up. A little more oil, like I said, I'll overfill it slightly. I'll either hit the upper mark or just above it. Once it fills the oil filter, I'll probably still have to add more. You do want to make sure you have this thing level. There we go, she's just to the full line. Once I start her up, she will drop the oil level down. Alright, I'm gonna basically turn this video off. What I'm gonna do is reassemble my airbox enough to where I can start the bike back up, and then we'll go from there. Alright, I'm back. I got my airbox put back on. It took, I don't know, 2 minutes. The beauty of having done this as many times as I have is it's easy for me to do. Oh, this thing hasn't been started in weeks. And you can see where she's already gone down a considerable amount. Yep, she's already drained everything back in. You can probably see the sight glass. Now you don't check your oil running. You want to give it a couple of minutes to kind of settle back down. But you can see it's not even in the sight glass anymore. Not a big deal that I overfilled it slightly. I'm not going to put a whole lot back into it right now. There we go, now we're getting there. Yeah, see, she's pretty much good now. There you have it. Oil's changed. Even after weeks of not being started, she started right up. Gotta love a Honda. I mean, that's your basic oil change. Of course, like I said, I've got a bunch of extra crap pulled off because I was doing the CCT. You know, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't checked out the U-Clear Pulse giveaway, it's a drop-in helmet speaker. Go over, check that video out. Follow the directions in that video. I'm giving that thing away. So go check that video out as well. And if you have any how-tos that you want to see, you can go to Facebook, facebook.com/TheRealRRDemon, just like the YouTube channel name. Go on there and put what you need to know. If I know how to do it, or if I'm due for it, or I can just jump into it and do it, I'll get it done for you. I know it's easier to be shown a lot of the times than it is to necessarily read. So again, thanks for watching, guys. I know this is a pretty basic thing. Hopefully you enjoyed it anyway. Maybe you learned a trick with the, you know, without getting all the oil all over your headers. Thanks for watching, guys. Y'all be safe, and I will see you in the next video.